super high energy.
Yes. Yes. I know. I kind of grateful for that because I'm like, even like on, like, say, for example, this weekend, it was cold and overcast
Mhm.
here. It was the perfect, like, just stay in bed weather. But the dog is like, nope, you're going to get up and get out. And so,
Right.
although at the time I kind of hate it, I kind of appreciate it because it
Right,
forces me
right.
to get out regardless of what the weather is like or what I'm
Yeah,
feeling like.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. So tell me, I was reading in your bio and I loved hearing this. You do genetic testing. What
Yeah.
is that for? Hormone levels or different things?
So different things. So it depends on what the person needs. So we actually just started doing this probably I want to say like 2, 3 years ago, maybe not even that long. But after training for so long and helping people with nutrition, we found that sometimes people just have like deficiencies or just like certain markers that are fighting against them and they don't even know. So Ray got certified. He can actually do like write the scripts to go get blood work and do all that. And then um depending on the person, sometimes we just have them do like a micronutrient test. We'll just tell you like if you're super deficient in something, or we go deeper into actual genetic testing and saying like you have this marker that is saying that you are on the path to having a heart attack and this is what we
Mm.
can these are what you need to do to stop it. And at first a couple of our clients were like, oh, I don't know, but we've had like several people do this and then their doctors like, yeah, they caught something that we didn't catch. So it's pretty awesome. So
I love that. And I think it's really important. Like, I went to the doctor recently. I'm like, hey, I'm probably at that age. Shouldn't we start testing, like blood testing my hormones and stuff like that? And they're like, no, not unless you feel like something's wrong. I don't think we need to do that. And I'm like, okay, what happened to, you want me to do all these other things that are
yeah,
like preventative and let's catch it early. But then when it comes to this, it's like no interest in seeing
yeah.
if there's anything there to handle.
But I've always been in the realm of just doing blood work, like for myself, like every 3 to 6 months, just to catch things because I had my own health issues that doctors just couldn't figure out and they didn't catch it. So for me, doing my own blood work was the way I got myself better. So I've always been a big proponent of that. And I think, like you said, like doctors, not all doctors, but sometimes they're like, oh, you don't need that, you don't need that. To me, it's like it's an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
just go in, get some blood work done. Yes, it costs money, but for me, I'm like, I'd rather do that every 6 months, see if my supplements are working, see if all this stuff that I'm doing, if it's actually helping or if I need to add something else. And it just makes it so much worth it. It's just worth it.
I agree, and I think everybody should do that. I did Inside Tractor. Andrew Huberman like
Mhm.
recommended that company, and they sort of tested all your levels and told
Yeah.
you your real age, and if you were deficient or high
Mhm.
in anything. And I mean, besides it being very helpful, I find it very fascinating because
Right.
for people like you and I who are very much into health and fitness, you're right. We can see if what we're doing is the right things or do we need to tweak things to be
Mhm.
better, or hey, what happened here? This was going really good and all of a sudden it
Right.
dropped off. What did I
Yeah.
change? And so
Exactly.
I think it just helps us be better versions of ourselves,
Yeah.
besides being like indicators of maybe something wrong going on
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like mine, I take vitamin D, it's in my vitamins, but when my thing came back, it said that my vitamin D was like super low, even though I'm going on walks every day, I'm in the sun, just so my body's not, it needs more or it's absorbing. I don't know. We can't always know the things, but now I'm adding extra vitamin D and I can already tell the difference. So it's like, it doesn't always have to be like a big thing, like I mentioned with like the heart attacks, but mine was just vitamin D. And it's just like so simple. Like it's super easy supplement that doesn't like you take the drops, they don't taste like anything, like simple, simple stuff, but it can really make a difference in how you're feeling.
I think it's so important. I mean, and again, we're pretty healthy, so we do it to just be even healthier.
Yeah.
But for your person, let's say coming out of the pandemic, where maybe they were in lockdown, they didn't get the right exercise, they didn't eat the right foods. There could have been a lot of damage there. Where I think if they were to do a blood test and get a screening and say, okay, here's where it's at. Now here's what I need to do in order to sort of fix these situations or
Right.
occurrences in the body that are. I mean, maybe they were there before and they just got magnified, but it definitely will give a direction of how to handle these deficiencies or things, anomalies, or you could actually have way too much
Yeah,
of something as well
exactly.
that
Yep.
then creates a deficiency in another area. So it's
Mhm.
just, I think it's really important for everybody to do. And again, if your doctor isn't going to do it, I think it's important to find people like yourself
Yes.
who will do it and then help you with actually solutions to these things.
Yes, 100%. And it's still, I know some people get like a little like weirded out, like, oh, this personal trainer's doing this. We're working with the doctor. So like when you actually do your blood work, you're sitting down, you have the option to actually sit down either with my husband or with a doctor and my husband the doctor's working in conjunction with our facility, and they're recommending supplements to actually help, or food. It depends on what's caught in the tests. So
So that's what you guys do. So you offer the full treatment. You work with them physically. You also check their blood levels. I assume nutrition's a big part of this. Once you look at all these different
yes.
components.
So everything is separate. So our main thing is fitness. So people come in for personal training. It's not like a regular big box gym. You're always working with the trainer, whether it's in a class, whether it's in like our classes are at most 10 people. And then we have small groups at most 5, and then or one-on-ones, right? So there's that. And then people can add on nutrition. So if they want to do one-on-one nutrition coaching, they can do that. And we always recommend that because, I mean, we all know like it's what you're doing when you're outside of the gym that's really affecting it. But if people don't opt to do that, we're giving out nutrition tips. We're constantly like just trying to give as much value for the people that don't do nutrition to still work on their nutrition. And then also with the testing, the genetic testing, it's an option. So they can opt to come and make a meeting, set a meeting up with Ray, and he can say, hey, I recommend XYZ, and they can take whatever test they want from there.
I love that. And what is the fitness that you guys do? Is it individualized per the person, like that they'll do best doing this kind of fitness, or is it just like a general one for everybody?
So for the one-on-ones, it's completely customized. So we go through like full on, like, what is your goal? Like we have goal meetings with it's individual. So it depends if somebody's coming in and they're wanting weight loss and they've never worked out before, their programming is going to look different from somebody who maybe was working out on their own for the past year, but they still want weight loss. Even though they're doing weight loss, their programming is going to be different, right? And then we also have like muscle building. We have we get a lot of guys that they're like, I just didn't want to bulk, I want to put on muscle. So that's a different program. So one-on-one's 100% customizable to what the person is wanting and what their goal is. For our classes, that's going to be a mix of strength and cardio. A lot of people assume it's like CrossFit, but it's not. It has a little bit more. Like we have a little bit more functional. Like I know CrossFit's functional too. I
I'm
did
like, hold
CrossFit.
on now, that's
No,
where
no,
our
no,
claim to fame there. No,
CrossFit for 4 or 5 years. I'm not bashing CrossFit at
I
all.
know.
Like at all. Like not. I think anything that gets anybody moving is great.
Yes.
That's what. But it's we get our clientele tends to be people that haven't really worked out a ton in their life. So like those movements would be a little bit much for them. So there tends to be people that are like stay-at-home moms or like working individuals that just, like I just need to move. So we're trying to get their body used to working out while still getting them weight loss. So our classes are typically for people that want to just like strength building and weight loss. And then the small group is a little bit more customizable because it's a smaller class. So they're tracking their weight. So they're really progressing a little bit faster in a small group because it's a smaller group.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I think I love that you pointed that out because I think that's a common misnomer about CrossFit. So many people won't start because they feel like they have to get fit before they
Yeah.
start. They look at the games athletes and go, well, I'm nowhere near that. So I
Right.
need to go like get fit before I even get in that gym. And I try to tell them like, no, the gym is there to help you get to that point. But I
Right.
love that you do what you do because I think that's a great entry point for people who are not sure if that's something they would like or where they want to go or they're intimidated by the
Yeah.
fitness or any of that.
Yeah. Yeah. But and that still happens too. We get people that are like, well, let me work out on my own and then I'll come do this. And we're like, no, like we can take somebody that's been doing it for years or somebody that's like literally never lifted a weight up in their life. Like that's why we have it structured the way we do it, that you're always with the trainer. So you're gonna get coaching regardless.
I
So
love that. I know, we utilize CrossFit to help people get in recovery, get off drugs and alcohol.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of people think, okay, I came to the gym. I was in there like a week. I'm not seeing any results yet. Like, what's the
Right.
problem? But then we'll see them, eating, 3 servings of foods, looking for the sugar, trying, and they don't realize that. And I don't know, I always say about 80%, but you might have a more accurate figure. Um, it's more nutrition than it is exercise. Like
Yeah.
and I say 80%, like 80% nutrition, 20% exercise. So you could
Yeah.
work your heart out in the gym, but unless you're the other 80% of the time outside of the gym being diligent and disciplined, you're not going to see the results you want to see, most likely.
100%. Yeah, I know. I don't have. I think it's around like I would say depending on the person, 70 to 90. Because there's
Yeah.
always that outlier of a person that everybody knows. They're like, oh, they're only working out and they lost this. I'm like, that's an anomaly. Most people are not like that.
Yeah. Or they did 20 push ups and now their biceps are like this. I have a guy
Yeah,
on my executives like that. I'm like, really? What the heck,
yeah.
man?
Yeah, so there's always that person that I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not the norm. Let's talk about like the norm. Most people need to really focus on like everything and just be well rounded. And we're really like obviously people come to us for goals, but our biggest thing is like let's make this a lifestyle. Like
Yes.
you see that whole like oh we're gonna lose this X amount of pounds and X like this like like the flashiness of it like 30 pounds in 30 days. We're not like that. We're like hey like you may not it may be slow, but our goal is so that you don't actually become one of those people that loses it and then just goes back. Right. I want you to just like this is your life now, like you eat healthy and you work out and you just move because your body wants it and needs it and not because you have, an event coming in 2 months and then you're just back to your regular scheduled programming. So
Exactly. Well, and that was my whole life up until probably 10 years ago. It was the yo-yo diet, and it was
Mhm.
like such restrictive diets, from the 600 calories to the
Right.
I don't know, you name it, and I did it, and I felt so deprived or
Right.
so missing out that when I gave myself a cheat or a break,
Mhm.
I couldn't bounce back because
Right.
I felt so lacking when I was on the diet. And so it really did, like you said, finding the right diet that was more of a lifestyle where it doesn't even feel like you're on a diet, you're eating the foods you like, but they're
Yes.
the right ones for you. And I think
Exactly.
that's really important.
Yeah. Yep. That's our biggest thing.
And do you look at different diets for different people, or do you just have one that you think is universal for everybody?
Yeah, so the nutrition coaching is also individualized, so it's one on one. So we start people off like the first time you meet the trainer. We actually have like a pre nutrition form, and they you answer all these questions. I mean, but the first time you meet the nutrition coach, she's just asking a bunch of questions. She's trying to figure out where you are, right? Like, are you eating all fast food, right?
Mm,
Obviously
mhm.
you're going to start in a different spot than somebody that's like, hey, I've been eating pretty healthy, but I'm kind of stuck. Can you just work from there, right? So we have people track their food for a week, whether
Mm.
it's during pictures, whether it's writing it down, my fitness pal, just show us what you're eating. And then from there, we can actually gauge and create a system for that person. So, because like I said, everybody's different. So, one thing that works for one person may not work for another. But our whole thing is on habits. Like what's your habit? If you're eating fast food, going back to that example every day, it's going to be really hard for you to just start eating chicken and broccoli and rice every day. Like that's
Right.
too big of a jump.
Right.
Is it good for
At
you?
least not
Sure.
for any length of time. You'll go through what I went through where you feel
Right.
deprived and
Yeah.
sad.
So it's like, so no, we're like, okay, if you're going to this fast food, here's a better option, right? And just get them on that better option. And then eventually, like, okay, let's start making, maybe you can make this at home. So it just depends on the person, it depends on what time they have, how much they're willing to change in the beginning. We do a lot of mindset stuff. So
Mm.
it's very, very individualized. And it just, like I said, it really depends on what that person wants, what they're willing to do, what mindset work we have to go through, and all that. So,
Well, I think that's important. I mean, you have to address the entire individual, body, mind,
Mhm.
and soul, or else you're not going to get the total change, at
Right.
least not permanently. You could get some temporary success, but it
Yeah.
won't be a permanent change, which is what we're trying to do, is not be a diet or a
Mhm.
fad. It's a lifestyle for here on
Yes.
out.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And how does essential oils play into that? Because we also utilize essential oils as part of our detox, part of our
Mhm.
program,
Mhm.
diffusing, we do aroma touch, we do different things like that. So I already am well aware of like the amazing benefits, but
Uh,
how do you utilize it in what you do as well?
so it's actually a separate business. So about
Oh,
5 years ago, uh, it was Ray, my husband. For those not aware, my husband and I own the gym together. So it was his dream to start the gym. And because of my background, I helped him and did everything. And I wanted to do my own thing. So I actually went to a retreat to get my own health and just wellness going. And I started using essential oils for myself. But I was doing all the nutrition coaching at the time. I don't now. We have an amazing staff and nutrition coach that does it now. And I was just seeing, people were stressed, people were this. So I was like, let me just recommend this. And it kind of took off. And it was also the time that like lives were big on Facebook. So I was going live all the time on Facebook. And it was way before the pandemic. And I built my doTERRA business through social media, which was not the norm back then. Now it's like everybody's doing that, but so it's a completely separate entity. Yeah, I do classes at the gym every once in a while, but honestly, it's very separate in terms of that. Like, yeah, there's people that like our team is obsessed with the oils. They use Deep Blue, like which is like natural icy hot. They use it all the time, but
Yeah.
it was something that I
I
wanted.
lived on Deep Blue my first few years of CrossFit. I was like, I didn't know
You
what I'd do
had to.
without it.
You have to. So it was just
Yeah.
something like Ray and I are very alpha. And once we got the gym, like I am very good at like organizing and creating systems and processes and stuff. So once we got that going and we had staff and all that, I was like, I want to do my own thing. So I started doing this and it took off. So I was like, okay, I guess I have another business.
That's so cool.
So
So
that's how
what's your number one favorite oil? If you had to pick one.
I already have one. It's balance.
Ah, which one?
Balance.
Ah, yep. I have that as well. I love all
I
the
love it.
blends. Like I have every blend there is. And then I'm like, I feel like a little mad scientist in my diffuser. I'm like, oh, today I feel like elevation always.
Yes.
And then let me throw in some of this and that and that. And there's my mood.
Yeah, I know. I was sad when the elevation got discontinued.
Oh, is that why I can't find it?
Yes. It is.
Darn it. I should have
It is
stocked up on
I
it.
stocked up. It is discontinued. It was one of my favorites. But yeah, balance. I don't know if it's because I'm a Libra because of the scales, but there's something about balance. I put it in my lotion every day. Like I just love it. It's just such a great one. So
Awesome. Well, hopefully they bring back the elevation for like a special
I
one
hope.
time only, and then I can stock up on
I
it.
hope. I'm pretty sure that there's something I can't remember. There's an oil in there that they can't responsibly source, which is what
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
they will never. I mean, you probably know they will never oversource a plant so it goes anywhere near extinct or anything. So I'm pretty sure that's why they discontinued it. So I'm sorry.
Okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I
I
can get
know.
behind
When
that.
they say it's like I'm disappointed, but I'm like, okay, that's a really good reason to discontinue.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
I'm not mad
100%.
about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what got you into? Because you talked a little bit about your past.
Mhm.
What put you on this path of health and wellness and systems and working with your husband and all this kind of stuff? Where does that all go back to for you?
So for me personally, it goes back to I've never been really overweight or anything. So people always assume like when opening up a gym that was mine was more that I get the side effects from all medications. Like
Mm.
if it's like for a headache, I will get like way worse. I'm like I can't take that stuff. So uh I was always getting sick constantly, but because I couldn't take just like regular over the counter medications, I was like, what is going on? And at the same time, Ray was actually very overweight in high school and lost a bunch of weight. And he was in sales and went to a chiropractor to sell him advertising, right? So he wasn't
Mm.
in health or wellness or anything. And he was telling him, like, hey, my fiance at the time, and we weren't married, she's always sick, and I have like lower back issues, like I have all these pains and my knees are always hurting. And he's like, come send her in. So I went to see him. He was a raw vegan. And that opened up a whole world. I had not even heard of that. But
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like this is, I don't know what it was, but I went raw vegan from that one. When I met him about a week later, Ray and I just went full on in and we did.
And that is not an easy diet, especially if you're not used to it to do.
It's
Like to know how to do. Like there's
it
only so
is,
much you can do with vegetables and stuff. It's
it's
like that is
yeah.
a hard one to jump into.
It is very hard, but I had really bad acne. I had aches and
Mm,
pains. Was always getting sick. Within a few weeks, my skin was clearing up. Like, and it
wow.
opened up my eyes to nutrition can actually help, right? Because I was always going to the dermatologist and they're like, no, it's not your diet. It's not this. I was very young and I
It's
was
just
just like, this.
hormones. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just all the things. And I didn't really know to question the doctor, right? So I'm like, it's not my diet. But then seeing that, I saw how much diet can help. And
Yeah.
that just took us on a path. And Ray went raw vegan and we just went deep down this path of like nutrition can actually,
Yeah.
and just fitness. Obviously we started working out. You can transform your health, right? Of course, like we like the way our bodies look too, but it was more for me, it was like from the inside out. I was like, oh my gosh, like my skin cleared up, like it was crazy. So that's how we got into the world of nutrition. And Ray went to be a trainer. I went on, like, I was an accountant back in the day and it was just sucking
Mm.
my soul. And
Yep.
I was like teaching and doing all these things, but we got an opportunity to buy the gym that we actually own now. It was a franchise. And we were like, we don't know what the heck we're doing, but I have like, like I was an accountant. So like I said, I knew the back end, right? Ray was in sales and marketing. So we were like, okay, we can handle that and we'll figure everything else out. So we ended up buying the gym and then we got out of the franchise about 2 years later and we rebranded and everything. So that's how we got into it.
I love it. Well, and I think there just needs to be more of it because, kind of like you know, the biggest thing we struggle with people getting sober is then they end up getting put on a bunch of medications to handle their addiction. But in reality, it's just prescription drugs that are doing the same thing that the
Right.
street drugs or alcohol were doing. And so we really try to teach a lifestyle of how about you just learn to, you know, like you said, through health, nutrition, working out, you
Right.
and be okay with experiencing that. I mean, I have clients, oh, it drives me crazy. They're like, well, I can't go back because I'm really sore. And it's like, okay, that's good. That means your
Right.
body is responding.
Yeah.
That's you feeling alive. Like it's okay to feel that way. That's not a negative thing. That's
Yeah.
actually a good thing. But it's interesting how much you, like you said, you have to change the mindset because it almost is in exact opposition to what we're trying to teach them as far as the physical side of
Right.
things.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely conditioning too. So there's a lot of like, you should feel this because you're getting older, or you should feel
Right.
this because you're a woman. Like I know this may be TMI, but when I went raw vegan, my cramps went away completely. I mean, as a woman, we have like 2 or 3 days of just like intense cramps. And I'm not raw vegan now, but my cramps have never returned. So to me, it's like, we're always told we should feel that way. And it's like, is that the case? If I was able to get rid of it by just changing my diet, yes, be it. I was very dramatic, but it's still like it still helped. So I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like,
Well,
so
yeah, and then you didn't need to load up on the Midol or the other stuff,
right.
and let's just
I couldn't
band-aid
take those.
this. It's just a fact of life. It's like,
Yeah.
no.
I couldn't even take Midol. Like I would take Midol and make me 10 times worse because I would get the side effects. So it
Right.
was like, and that's why I love the essential oils and just nutrition in general, because the people that come to me are at their wits end or just like sick of like feeling the way they're feeling. They're like, well, I went to the doctor for my kid, or I went to the doctor for myself and they said take this and this, and it's like you have this plethora of medication and they're like, and I still feel like crap. So they're like, and I'm like, great. I obviously legally can't tell anybody to stop taking any medication, but I'm like, just try this and this. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you still can you have that backup there. So it's just nice to be able to take that power back, in my opinion, of the like, well, if I have, my head is hurting or I have a stomach ache or something like that, I have stuff right there. I can just grab and just put it on me. And we still have the other options. Those options aren't going away. But it's just nice to be able to think I can change my eating. I can change what I'm putting on my body and in my body, and it's going to affect me and empower me in a way that nothing else can.
God, I love that. And that's a message that we need to get out more and more because if you even just sit in front of the TV and watch it for 2 hours, you are bombarded with commercials about take this, take this, take
Yes.
this, take that, bad food, bad food, bad food.
Right.
And it's like, there it is not set up to put it on the path that we're on and trying to get other people on. And so trying to outdo all that conditioning is
Yeah.
a feat in itself because it is a constant brainwashing conditioning
Yeah.
to just take something and don't feel anything. And
Yep.
that's hard to
It is
combat.
hard. It's very hard. Like that's why I do a lot of mindset stuff. When
Mhm.
even when somebody comes from me with essential oils, I'm like, just know that this is not. It's not your fault. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you've been taught that this is like the norm, and it's okay to feel like, oh, why, why didn't I know this before? A lot of people have a lot of guilt. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, why, I was doing XYZ or I was doing that. And I'm like, no, it's okay. Like that's who we all thought, like this is like just what you said, like it's around us everywhere. And it's like when you veer off the path by just a little bit, you're like weird or you're this. And it's like now it's
Yeah.
becoming a little bit more normal, but it was like crazy to think. I mean, I
Yeah.
know you're like, it depends on the circles, but
We're still a little weird, but that's
it's still
okay.
a little weird. I just tell people to embrace it. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'd rather be weird and feel great.
1,000%. 1,000 times a day. I'll take it all day, every day.
I'd rather be woo-woo with my oils and my crystals and my all the things,
Same.
and I feel great.
Yes. Yes, and rarely if ever sick, and and then if we are, for me it's like temporary. It's usually
Yeah,
I'm more run down because I'm going too hard, but
right, right.
yeah. I
Yeah,
love how you framed though that you and I should definitely start doing this too. Like it's not your fault for feeling this way. This is how we've been programmed. Like
right.
don't feel bad or weird or guilty. And it makes me think of even like the food pyramid, right? They have
Mhm.
like grains and wheat. Like the worst of the worst is at the bottom three tiers. And the best
Right.
stuff is at this very little in moderation, maybe
Yeah,
once in a while. And it's like, well, no wonder we, especially in the USA, are so unhealthy if we're like following what they're teaching us in school, because it's taught in school as science and health, and then we go out and apply that to life, and it's just making us sicker and sicker and sicker.
yep, yep. It's crazy. That food pyramid. Oh, don't even get me started on that food pyramid.
Right.
It
Right.
gets me so mad. But it's funny, even as adults, like we still have clients that come in for nutrition and they'll question, like, they'll say, well, I can't have this much fruit because it's too much sugar and this. And I'm like, homegirl, if I'd rather you eat a whole thing of fruit if that's going to keep you from eating the whole thing of donuts that you were eating last week. Let's question that. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, I don't care if you're overeating fruits and vegetables. Yeah, at some point it may be too much sugar, but who
Yeah.
cares if it's a fruit? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
it's like,
especially if it's organic and it's good and you're getting it at the
yeah,
grocery store, like yes.
yeah. Like if you have a sugar craving, you go to town on a pound of grapes. I'm okay with that because you probably would have done donuts or cookies or something else. Like
Yeah.
it's just so much better for you. But again, it's that we people are like, oh, fruit is too much sugar. Like they say, that's the famous line that everybody says, oh, they say this is too much. They say, I'm like, who's they? Well, why are we listening to them? Let's stop
Right.
listening to them.
Exactly. They're not our health is not their best interest. There's
Right.
other
Yeah.
things, and we
Yeah.
could go deep in that
Yeah.
too. Yeah, the one that kills me once I finally had the aha and realization is the whole fat-free revolution
Oh
about
my goodness.
how fat-free is bad. But then you start looking in all these fat-free products and you realize that they just infused them with double the sugar. So you're taking out the good fats, calling
Mhm.
fat bad, and everybody associates fat with being fat. So that was an
Right.
easy
Yeah.
one. But then they're just infused with tons of sugar. So they're like, I don't get it. My whole diet is fat-free
Yeah.
and I just keep gaining weight. And it's like,
Right.
well, because you're just taking on all that sugar and not good
Yeah.
fats.
Yeah, 100%. And then of course, like fats are great for your brain. So
Right.
like brain fog and like focus and all these things, like your body needs those good fats to like function properly. So people are like, I can't focus. I'm like, yeah, because you haven't had fat in a week.
Yeah.
Like, you need it. It's so good for you. But it's not people's fault. It's just that's what
Right.
we grow up learning, and like the diet culture is just kind of perpetuates these things. So people come in and it's like we have to break that down, which is why how we do the nutrition coaching like we do it. It's if we were just to like say, hey, eat this, they were like, what? It'd be almost like a shock to them
Yeah.
because they haven't learned why how they're eating is not the best for them. So we're really big on education, because once you educate somebody on what they're doing, it's a lot easier for them to actually do it instead
Right.
of like, hey, I'm telling you to do this, just do it, you know?
100%. And that's what we have to do with our clients. And, so we're not only just handling their addiction, but also obviously they weren't living the best lifestyles when it comes to eating and working out and that sort of stuff. But it really is an education on the truth. And it's funny because although it seems very controversial, the way you and I are speaking, if it's laid out correctly, almost everybody has that like aha light bulb go on in their head, like, oh, I get it. And for us, it's really important to teach them to not start, don't get off drugs and then start eating a bunch of sugar, because that's going to put you right back into withdrawals and detox symptoms, but it also give you those cravings, perpetually for forever. So let's look at the whole lifestyle change, which I think is important. And I love that you do the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's just all about education. Like one of the biggest things is it just seems so simple, but we don't learn it. It's just to like read a nutrition label. Everybody's been taught like just to look at like the nutrition facts, but not the ingredients. So we're big on like, let's look at the ingredients. Do you understand what those words are? For the most part, if you're eating a processed food and you don't know what the words are, it's full of chemicals, it's full of crap. So who cares if it has like perfect nutrition facts? It's still probably affecting your body in a way that you may not even see for a few years. That's the unfortunate part with food, is that it's, for most people, it's not in like an immediate effect. It's like over time of eating these things, and then you learn later, you're like, oh man. So that's what we're trying to help people, just educate them.
I love that. Well, and it's funny because you look at other countries, like for me, I love to reference Italy because when I went over there, it's pastas, it's fresh breads, it's gelatos. Like it's amazing food where everybody's eating that every meal, but they're not fat. They're not overweight. They're not, like if I were to eat that over here in the US, I would have blown up, added 20 pounds in 2 weeks for eating that
Yeah.
lifestyle. But over there, because they don't use any of the processed stuff, it's all natural ingredients. They walk a lot. They don't suffer the same sort of mal what are
Nutrition.
those,
Yeah.
whatever we
I know
suffer
what
from over here, malnutritional whatevers.
Yeah.
But the bad things that as a country that we experience with being overweight and unhealthy, it's not all over the world. It is really a lot of it mostly here.
Yeah, 100%. I have a gluten intolerance that I've since done a whole bunch of things to actually fix. But a few years ago, I actually went, I was at a point where it would make my throat close and like I just couldn't have it. And I went to Prague for a doTERRA trip. And I was like, okay, I'm in Prague. It's my first time in Europe. I'm just going to see, right? I have all my oils. I have all these people. And I was there for a week, 7 days, and I ate my way through Prague. I ate everything that place had to offer, not one gluten intolerance issue at all. So it is
Amazing.
not, yeah, it is not the same. And I didn't gain weight because you're right. Like you're just, and I was eating desserts. Like, let me tell you, I was trying, they make these things on the street where they put like Nutella in them. It is amazing. I was
Mhm.
eating that and didn't gain weight. And I actually looked up their Nutella. Their Nutella is different than our Nutella. It has cleaner ingredients. And I was like, well, this is why.
Yep. Yep.
Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, and a lot of what we eat here is actually banned over there and banned in those countries because it's so not healthy for you. They won't even let it come in.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, when people are like, "I don't get it," like we go from this from here. I'm like, the food in Europe is completely different, and I
Yeah.
know for a fact that the wheat is, because I cannot have wheat here, but I
Yeah.
could have wheat in Prague just fine.
Just fine. Yeah. And it doesn't cause the inflammation that here I have one piece of bread and it's like, my whole body goes
Yep,
just
yep,
like instantly. Not
yeah,
there. Not
yep.
at all.
Not there. So something
Dang,
to
you're
be said
making me
about
want to go visit Europe again. I'm like, I'm really craving carbs. I should just go to
that.
Italy.
Why'd you go to Europe? Because I wanted carbs.
Exactly. It seemed like the best solution, you know? I don't know.
That's funny.
So how does all this segue, or does it not? Is this a separate business about your course, the happiness course?
So the course and the oils are under one umbrella. They're
Okay.
they're different in that not everybody that comes to me for the course gets oils, and not everybody that comes to me for the oils gets the course. So there's two separate in that regard. But it came about as I've always with my own just journey. I wanted to be a person that was happy. And when I was an accountant, it was just like sucking my soul. And I was like, this is not who I am. So I did a lot of mindset stuff. I love Tony Robbins. I've gone to like all his events, and people started calling me like Happy Amy, and people like jokingly like, oh, you should do like have a website or a blog, or like blogs were the big thing back then. And I was like, no, that's crazy. And then eventually I was like, you know what, I should do a course. And it was actually my first Apex call. You know, we have a monthly call.
Mhm.
Back then, I think there was like 5 people on the call.
So you're
So
one of the OGs. You're one of the originals.
I was the fifth female to join Apex execs. So
Amazing.
I am an OG.
Well,
Uh,
I will just say, just a little side thing.
yeah.
You've done an amazing job of attracting more of us and keeping them around because typically in these groups, women are few and far between, but I feel like
Mhm.
we have a really strong
We do.
women present in Apex. And now I know it probably originated a lot from you.
Yeah, I just it was nice. Like I don't mind when it's just all guys, but it definitely helps when there's females and just that female energy. I think we just bring a pizzazz that guys cannot.
Yes.
But on that first call, I had been thinking about like, oh, I'll make a course, and at the time it was like, well, nobody has a course on happiness. That's like kind of weird. So I brought it up to the people on on the call, and they were like, yeah, go for it. So I built it. I sold it. I just told people honestly, hey, this is what it is. It was beta. Um, you know, I had no idea if what the thing I was going to build, because it's like modules, and the basis is we go through your mindset, then we go through fitness and nutrition, and then we go through relationships, then we
Mhm.
go through like career, health, career, hobby, business, just depending on where you are. And then the last one is like fun, environment, or in rest. So through each of those pillars, though, it's very focused on like your mindset. So like during even like the fitness and nutrition one, we're not talking about, I'm not like giving you your macros and giving you a workout. It's more like, let's talk about your self image. Let's talk about like loving yourself and still working on yourself. Right. You don't, a lot of times those are separate, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, if you're working on yourself, that means you're not body positive, you don't love yourself. I'm like, no, you can still love yourself. Like there, we anyway, we just go through a lot of like mindset stuff in regard to that, so that when you go to do, you know, your fitness and nutrition, it's easier because you've worked on the mindset. So I just, it started off as beta, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna try this. And the last call, so it's, we do modules, they have to watch the module, and then we meet, it's group coaching. And the last call that we had, everybody just, without me prompting, just was telling me their transformation. And I was like, oh my God, like I started crying, and I was like, I have something here. This is
Mm.
amazing. Um, and I relaunch it every couple of weeks, and it's amazing just to help people figure out what happiness means to them, because just like everything else we've been talking about, you get conditioned like what you think you should be doing to be happy, right? Like you need to do XYZ, you need to have this career and get married and have kids and like all these things, and people are like, I have those things and I'm so unhappy. But
Mhm.
they're not like rock bottom, so they don't feel like they deserve to help themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like it's people that
Yes.
come to me are like just like mediocre, like their life just feels like very like blah, right? So they're not like crazy miserable. So in their head, they're like, oh, who am I to complain? But
Right. They've checked all the boxes and yet
right,
they still feel unfulfilled. So then they feel guilty for feeling
yes,
this way because they
yes.
checked all the boxes. And
Yeah,
I could
right. So they're
definitely
just
see.
like, my life is mediocre, and I'm like, that's not
Yeah.
okay. Like, why can't you have a life that you love, and do all the things that you love? So we go through all of that. So it just kind of validates people's feelings too, because like just because you have those things doesn't mean you're going to be happy, because you probably don't even realize what your definition of happy is. You've been living
Yeah.
somebody else's instead of like, how can I live mine? So that's
I
how we
love
get.
that. And I would assume at different points in your life, it changes. You
Yes.
know, what used to make you happy in your 20s is probably not going to be making you happy in your 30s. And if you're still trying to do those things from the 20s, it's going to
Yeah.
be different. And
Yeah.
so I can see how that would be confusing and also how very beneficial to do this course multiple times, like once every couple of years, because everything changes within
Yeah.
you. You're like, great, now I'm doing all that. What's the next level?
Yep. 100%. So everybody has lifetime access, and every time I do it, I do throw out an offer for people that have done it to do it again, because
Mm,
you know sometimes it's not even like their life changed. Sometimes like at the time one exercise wasn't exactly what they needed, but when they do it again, they're like, oh, this is exactly what I need right at this time. So and it just helps also when we're, of course they can go in and do the course by themselves because they have access, but when you're coaching and you see other people, you don't feel as alone, right? Like so many of us, when we're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I have this thought or I feel this way. But when somebody else is like, oh my God, girl, I get you, you're like, oh God, like I'm not alone. So just to be on the call with other people, they just love that. So it definitely helps them break through.
I could definitely see the benefit of that. We often hear it at graduation from our clients because we have a curriculum, but then we have what we call team, which is like this coaching. And that's where they feel the most comfortable because they're hearing other people who are on the same path express verbally situations that they feel and hear. And they're like, oh
Mhm.
my God, I'm not alone. And
Right.
it's the exact same thing as you're talking about, but in the addiction field. But the power of that group, even in Apex, we'll go in those groups and
Yeah.
I'll have nothing to say, but then I'll talk about it and find out all kinds of other people feel the same way. There's
Right.
just a comfort in that, but then there's like good advice from
Mhm.
your peers
Yeah.
to help you feel better, or what worked for them, or
Yeah.
what have you tried this or thought of
Mhm.
that kind of thing, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I love like I actually encourage. So we have our first call. They haven't watched any of the modules yet. It's just to everybody to meet each other. And I actually encourage. I say like, yes, I'm the owner and the creator of this course, but I want you guys to also coach along with me if you have something to share. So it almost gives them a sense of empowerment too. Like I can help somebody else, because most people love helping other people. And when you give them that opportunity, it helps them work through their stuff, and you just feel great, because you have that camaraderie with somebody else. So it's one of the things like in the course, it's like we're gonna learn to like help and help coach other people through this so that it actually helps you. And there's just so many different reasons why it's so amazing to be able to do that.
Well, and I think the key word that you keep hitting on, which 100% aligns with everything that I do, is empowerment. You
Yeah.
know, when a person feels empowered, they can take on the world, they can overcome an addiction, they can get healthy, they can get fit, they can be happy. But
Yeah.
when they're feeling less than and not empowered and powerless, the results aren't the same. You could
Yeah.
possibly get there, but it's more of a torturous process as opposed to a fun journey. The
Yes.
empowerment is so cool.
Yes. Yeah. I love that.
Do you have primarily women in there, or is it both
Yes.
women and men?
So it's primarily women. Like that's how I promote it. I do feel like it's not that I don't want to coach men, but the things that we're talking about and like the people that I attract tend to be women, and it's definitely more comfortable because there's like women sharing things about like their husbands and all that, and we have a whole thing on like what stays in the coaching, what happens in the coaching stays in the coaching.
Yes.
So yeah, it is geared towards women. And but essential oils, I have both men and women, but the coaching, I mean the course is more women.
Awesome.
So yeah.
And so just to deviate just slightly back to the essential oils, do you do the where you take them, you put them in the capsules and take them, or are you more into diffusing, or do you like the rubbing on the body parts, or you just like all of the
I
above?
like it all. So
Okay.
for me personally, I do whatever I feel like my body needs. So like I'll put lemon in my water and lime in my
Mm,
water, and I'll do that. And I do take the LLV, the lifelong vitality supplements that they have, which have essential oils in them. And if I'm feeling run down, I'm always taking them internally. And for my clients, I always go on what they're comfortable with. Like I share with them that yes, they're medical grade. Like you can take them internally, and I show them how to know which ones you can. But I get not everybody's comfortable with that. Over time, as people get more comfortable with using the oils, they're more open to taking it internally. But there's so many benefits to different things, like deep blue. We never take that one internally for as just the oil, and it's fantastic. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
so it just depends. Like, and I think diffusing is the easiest, like the gateway, because most people know about it. It's so easy. You can get it into other people that are not.
Yes.
People are like, I don't use essential oils. I'm like, if you've come to my house, you've used essential oils
Yeah,
because
you were
it's
breathing it the whole time and didn't even
like,
realize it.
if you're breathing it, you're using it in the soap in the bathroom, like it is
Yes.
everywhere. So,
Yeah.
so it just depends. Yeah. So I personally love doing everything, but I will go where a client's comfortable and kind of work them through that way.
Well, and it's so funny as you're talking, I'm thinking about all these things from the health to the nutrition to the diet to the working out to the happy course. It's all about gradients, right? So it's
Mhm.
like building up to those things. Cause I look at my diet and I was thinking about this. I'm, like you said, pretty extreme now, but 10 years ago, that would have seemed crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like now I won't even eat out because I'm like, what oils are you using for your meat? And like I would have thought I was crazy 10 years ago. But
Yeah,
if you're diligent and you start, getting a little more disciplined, a little more knowledgeable, a little more understanding, you keep raising that bar a little higher and higher till you get to this place
yeah,
um, where we're at. And so I don't want people to feel discouraged, like, well, you guys are there. I'm never going to get there. It's like, yeah, you totally can, but it definitely comes in layers. It comes in
yes,
further education, more stuff that comes out. You start to be more body aware and mind aware, what makes you feel good, what should I do more of, what should I do
yes.
less of, that sort of thing. You build up to these points, but then
Yeah,
you can get to the very extreme range like you and I are with our oils and nutrition and fitness, where other people might think, God, you guys are nuts.
yeah. But for me, it's the norm. Like
Yeah.
to me, it's like
Yeah.
it's just how I am, you know? Like it's just I can give you an example. I have a group of friends that every month we do like a fun activity. So we'll dress up in like 80s gear and like we went to a Stranger Things exhibit. So this
I
last
did that
month
too.
it was so much fun.
Okay.
But we had a pajama party. So we all dressed up in like Halloween, like just pajamas, and it was at one of our houses, and we were playing games, and they had Jello shots that were obviously had alcohol in it, and they were red, and they were like in a syringe because it was like Halloween based. And I didn't want one, and I just because in my head all I see is like red dye number 40, and,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I'm like, I
As
don't
you said
know.
that, that was the first thought that went into my head. Yep.
And like, and even as a kid, I wasn't that big a fan of Jello anyway. So like to me, it has no like there's no appeal. So it's not like I don't want it out of discipline. It's not like I'm like, oh no, I can't do that. I like legit didn't want it. So they're
Yeah.
like, oh, you sure? And they're like cool about it, but it's just like they think I'm like. Sometimes I have to like remind people I'm not doing this because I'm like forcing myself not to do it because I really want it, but I know it's not good for me. Like no, I just don't. I don't. It doesn't even cross my mind. Like I'm like no, I don't want red dye with alcohol and and Jello and gelatin and from all I just it's too much.
Oh yeah. Yeah, once you get educated like that, it is difficult to consciously make those decisions to do otherwise, because then you were like, "Oh, I remember how that made me feel. I know
Yeah,
what's in that, so I know what I'm putting in my body."
right.
Yeah, Tom and I, he works for me. We just went to the first festival in over 4 years or 3 years since the pandemic. And it was a 4-day festival. But we
Yeah,
were very conscious going in about, okay, so here's the one place within that whole festival that we can eat. And we ate there every meal because we knew they had well, it was the lobster truck, the famous lobster truck.
yeah,
But it was like not cooked in bad oils.
yeah,
It was fresh out of the sea. And we just were very conscious about our eating, which gave us the energy and stamina to
mhm,
endure the whole thing and not have any bad side effects and feel good and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So it is funny. It is an interesting process where you're right. It's not even about discipline anymore. It's just awareness of how it could make you feel, or how do you not want to feel, and is it worth it? Like doing
right,
that pro and con. I could do that, but is it worth it?
yeah,
Is my pleasure going to be better
right.
than what I'm going to suffer because I made that choice?
Yeah, yeah, and it's so quick for certain things. Like it didn't even cross my mind. Like as soon as I came in, I saw it, and it was just like it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna have. I was like, oh, okay, that's cute. I thought it was cute.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay. But I was like, oh, I don't even want it. But it's yeah, it's you get to a point, and I get asked that a lot through like social media and our clients at the gym. They're like, well, how you're like you're so disciplined. I'm like, you're seeing me like if we're running a marathon, I'm on mile 24. You're still like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like it depends. Like you're comparing two different things. You're just not there yet, right?
Yeah.
Like you're at that point where just learning about certain foods and just getting used to moving your body. Like I was there, trust me. It's just I'm just a little further along. And so it looks so impossible, but it's not. You just got to keep going. And
Yeah.
so, and I think some people get discouraged and they stop, and then so they're always restarting. So
Yeah.
it's just about being okay with like making those mistakes. Like, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I totally just went off my diet, and I'm doing that in quotes just because I don't, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
whatever your food is your diet, like whatever you're eating is your diet. So it's just a matter of like not having that guilt and just be like, okay, I'm learning and learning. And over time, it will just become what you do, you know? So
Right. Well, and that's the key. It's the consistency. And like you said, if you do fall off, it's like it's okay. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You know, you were starving. You grabbed the only thing that was there. Like it's okay. Nobody's gonna make you
Right.
feel bad or guilty about that. But like, what can we do in the future? Maybe you bring some healthy snacks with you. So if you get to that point and you haven't eaten and you know you got to eat, you have those healthy
Yeah.
snacks available. So you don't go for the bad things that were available when you saw them.
Mhm.
And so again, you know, the learning is part of the process and preparing. I mean, I leave now and like we said, I've crossed into that crazy realm to some people where I have my high pH water and I
Yeah.
drag it with me wherever I go. Now I even take it with me on the plane.
Yeah.
It's your medical water. You can take it with you. Like
Oh,
it
I didn't
is
know
what
that.
it is because I don't want, even though I could, you know, cross TSA and then buy the high pH water on the other
Yes.
side, but it's in plastic. So you know, it's leaching all those stuff in there. So again, you get to this point where some people are
I
like, "You're freaking crazy," but it's like, "But am I? Because I'm pretty healthy."
I know. I just had somebody, I forget who came to my house. It was a friend that hadn't been to my house, and they were like, "You were really like," because there's not a chemical to be found in my house, like from our cleaning products to my hair products, like everything. It's just
Yeah.
all natural, our food's all organic. And I'm like, "Yeah, what do you think? I'm just saying all this on social media? Like, I am in it." Like I am living it, but it's once I started switching over, I didn't do it all at once, but you do it slowly and surely. And now it's just those are the things I get. Like I know what products have what in them and I just go for those and it just becomes so normal. Like it is
Yeah.
not it's out of my like to me when I see somebody and this is not judging anybody at all, but when I see somebody that has like a Crest toothpaste in my head, I'm like, oh, like, like what? You know what I mean? Like it's because I know like I go for formaldehyde and all this thing. So I just go through like the list of like what's in a product. When people do the opposite, they're like, oh, look at this crazy girl that has like all this
It's true.
stuff. It's
Yeah, but I don't think we'd want it any other way, right? Like I can't
oh,
imagine
I don't,
ever going back at this
I'm not going
point.
back. I can't go back. I
Yeah,
remember what it feels like to,
same.
I had a flare up, with my immune system. I have autoimmune issues that I just realized a few years ago. And same like you, like I just got overworked. Like I was working so much because I'm so passionate about this. And it just got to the point where I wasn't resting and I wasn't doing all the things. I was still eating. I was still eating healthy and working out, but the stress level to me didn't feel that much, but my body felt it. So I had a huge immune response with my skin, and I remember what that felt like. And I know, like, I was able to fix it with nutrition. So I can't go back. You know what I mean? I also remember having acne and having
Yes.
pain all the time and being sick. Like, somebody would sneeze like a mile away and I'd be sick for a week and a half. Like, I don't want to go back to that. So
Yeah.
I just, to me, I can't. I literally cannot because the pain of that is so much worse than, and this is like pleasure. Like to me, I'm like, what this is great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, you hit on all the you know key things because I used to struggle with my skin and now I go get a facial and they're like, "Oh my gosh, your skin is amazing." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Really?" I'm like, "Old. I can't even believe that." Like, what is different?
Oh,
But it's just the whole internal process and taking care of yourself and loving yourself and giving yourself that grace to pour into yourself all these kind of healthy things and know that you're worth it as well.
yep.
Because I know for a lot of women, they're like, I got to take care of my kids. I got to do this. I don't have time for that. Like, oh, that's nice that you have time to do that, but I don't have time to give myself
Yeah.
that. And it's like, but this is the most important thing you should do so that you're better for other people by
Yeah.
taking care of you first.
Yes, that's one we go through a whole thing on that in my course on like putting yourself first. Like you women especially have been taught like it is again another conditioning thing that we are selfish if we put ourselves first. And it's like if you can't even take care of yourself, think about like it's actually an exercise for the women to put themselves in the place of like their daughter or like another female in their life that they love. And I'm like, imagine if you were telling her all the things that you tell yourself,
Yes.
you wouldn't. And they're like,
Ever.
and I'm not saying to not ever give like, constructive criticism to somebody like you would tell yourself, like, oh, you got to get your act together, but you would say it in a different way we're so hard on ourselves. We're like our worst enemy. And literally, like I'm almost positive that I named that exercise like becoming your own best friend and like your own cheerleader instead of your worst enemy, because we're so mean to ourselves. I'm like, you wouldn't say that to your daughter or to like your best friend or something like that. You would say it, you would phrase it differently. So let's start doing that to ourselves internally.
1000%. And that is exactly what someone pointed out to me at one point where I was like, oh, God, I look so fat in this. And they're like, would you say that to your best friend? Like she looks super
Yeah.
fat in that? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
God, no, that would be really
Right.
mean. They're like,
Right.
why is that okay to say to yourself? And I'm like,
Yeah.
huh. So
Yeah.
it's like pointing out that negative self talk that we don't even realize that we're
Mhm.
doing that is so beneficial. Again, that's a part in our program where you identify this negative self talk because that's the stuff that keeps us down
Yeah.
because somehow we think that's who we are.
Yeah.
And learning to now positive talk yourself into feeling good, being happy, living
Mhm.
right, doing all the right
Yeah.
things.
Yep. Love
Ugh,
it.
I love that. So, what's next for you? You've already got these amazing things going on. Are you good here, or
I'm
somehow
good
I feel
here.
like there's more on the horizon?
I mean, there's always more on the horizon, but for the last year, well, I would say like 2 or 3 years, like because since the pandemic, we obviously had to revamp and like pivot with the gym. So I kind of was back there. I was completely out, and now like this past year, we I just made a whole bunch of changes and just put a lot of things in place. So my DoTerra business, while it was good, was kind of like just I was keeping it at the same level. So coming into this next year, I just want to really help as many people as I can with that, because I just think that everybody just needs them, and once you use them, you understand the power of that. And then again, launching my course in January, just be because I think it's so powerful. I just had somebody message me that did the course a year ago, and she's like,
Mm.
I went back and did this exercise, and she's like, thank you so much. Like just like the power of like using these tools in perpetuity. Like everything that I have right now is just I want people to be able to become their own like champion, like that you don't need me. I always say that, but for oils and for the course, like I want to teach you that you do not need me in your life because you got yourself. I'll always be there, but I want you to have yourself, and then you can help spread, then they have themselves and they can bring that to their family and to their kids. So that's my goal, is to really go big with the essential oils in the course.
Well, and you already do so much of it. Your social media presence is amazing.
Thank
I
you.
know when I'm like, "Oh, I gotta get better. I always look at you because you're so good about
Thank you.
posting, being inspirational, making me want what you have, and I'm sure everybody else who watches it as well. So you've done just a phenomenal job, like you said, and you were doing that pre-pandemic. So you were almost like one of the first influencers before that was a thing, which
Yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely started on Facebook. I'm still like Instagram is a whole different ball game, but I'm working on that and I'm getting it. And I think it's so much fun to just like figure it out. But yeah, I think it's fun because, as much as I love all the people that we help at the gym, it's still in our little town, like that
Yeah.
little town of Allen. We can only help so many people, But with the course and the oils, I am able to just help anybody, right? If you come across my stuff, like that's so amazing, so I wanted to kind of expand my reach, which is why I started doing it on social media.
I love that. Well, we definitely share the same message, which is, learning how to be happy without the need to take things to feel better, how to physically feel better without all the other side effects from
Yeah.
taking things to feel better. And I think we have perfect like cohesion as far as us believing the same thing. So I'm definitely going to put a link for our graduates to find you so that they can
Thank you.
continue their wellness journey, both mentally and spiritually. Awesome. And please tell our listeners where they can find you to get any and all of those things that we talked about.
Yeah, so it's and my website is amycattaneo.com, and then you can find me on Facebook at Amy Cattaneo, and then on Instagram as Happy Amy Cattaneo. So
That's right. We,
yeah,
we, we know you as Happy Amy.
Yeah, Happy Amy. Everybody calls me Happy Amy.
That doesn't bother you? You're like, yes, that's me.
No, what's funny is
It's
that
like branding.
yeah, it is branding. And what's funny is that when I started my Instagram account, somebody else has Amy Cattaneo. I originally wanted everything to just be easy, like, oh, just find me at Amy Cattaneo on all across all platforms. And it was before my course that I made this. And I was just like, oh, let me just throw happy in front of there. And they had it. And then I ended up having a happiness course. So it just worked out. But I was actually like, I was like, man, somebody has my name. I messaged the person. I was like, can I have this account, please? They never got back to me, but it worked out. Everything happens for a reason. So
Yeah, that's like I'm Angie Elevate. It's like it is what it is. That's
yeah,
our branding, and it makes it easier for people to find us and
right,
remember us.
right, yeah,
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking everything health, fitness, oils, happiness, all up my alley, all the things that
yeah.
I love. And I really enjoyed having you on as a guest. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
Awesome. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. Yeah, so I would love to put a URL or something to you. And
Okay.
sometimes like and this is totally up to you, but like if I can get my graduates or staff to do it, like I've had people say, oh, just type in Elevate and we'll give you 5% off the course just
Yeah.
because you're a graduate or just because of
Yeah.
that. Is that anything that you'd be interested in so that I can help you get more people
Yeah, so I'm not launching the course until January.
of next year?
So yeah, of the upcoming year. But we can definitely do like I could do like 10% off or something like that. I'm just throwing numbers around because but yeah, I would totally love what do you know when this is gonna go live?
No clue.
Okay,
No clue. I know we've got several in the can, and he's
right,
been sprinkling in old ones with new ones because of some algorithm with YouTube, and
right,
the
right.
I don't understand all of it, so I
Yeah.
have no
Yeah,
idea.
because the reason I figured most people are a couple of episodes out, but I mean it's October, end of October. So even if it comes out in a couple of weeks, it would be good for January. So let me create because I would have to create a code and like give you all the things. So let me do that and I can get back to you. But for sure.
Totally, and you don't have to do that. It's just
Oh, no,
something I know other people have
absolutely.
done, and then it's made my grads go, oh shoot, I can do further education. I got other things, and then they feel special because they got
No,
that
it's
from.
amazing. It's amazing. That's why I was just making sure that it made sense for like when this is coming out versus
Yeah,
like if I want obviously I need to like get it to you.
get
So
it together, man, before the end
yeah,
of the year. No.
I know. So I will get that to you. I would,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You are amazing. I am a little bummed I won't see you till next year.
I know. You're not going to Apex Live?
No, it's the same weekend as Arate. So or Emily's. I don't know, one of those. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to be at all those
So
different
many.
ones.
Yeah.
My 50,000 different masterminds. I'm like,
Right.
next year I need to maybe I need to start minimizing. I'm so spread thin with all these, but
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. Like we got to a point where we just have Apex.
Oh, you do? That's it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because we were doing like Tony Robbins events, we were doing this and then this, and then it's like you almost get like information overload and like
Yes.
you almost like spin your wheels because you're getting so much information.
A
I feel
thousand
the same
percent.
way about like audiobooks and podcasts. Like I had to like pare down, like, okay, let me just listen to these.
Yeah,
Because
right
it's
now
like
I'm
I
just
get
doing this. No, it's true. I feel the same way. I'm like, I don't know which master to follow because I'm getting
Right.
like, there, you do it this way. No, this one says this and this one that, and I should do all this, and I listen to that, and
Yeah.
I totally understand.
I, yeah.
I got to simplify next year. That should be my goal next year. Simplify.
Yeah. Yeah. That could be a word for the year. Simplify.
Okay, perfect. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, and we'll chat soon. And I'll definitely let
Yeah.
you know when the episode goes out, so
Okay.
you can put it out there, and we'll have the code
Yes.
ready and all that kind
Yep.
of stuff.
Awesome.
And
Yay.
if you need anything from me, feel free to reach out.
I will. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.